Jesus, Yeshua, 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 Jesus, Yeshua. Hallelujah. Dear Holy Spirit, please give me a reading for the 11th house, aka Aquarius. No weapon formed against me shall prosper. No, no, I won't be afraid. Because you're fighting. Nor the snares they have set will not succeed. I will stand my ground with the Lord on my side. On His word, He has said, you got the victory. We got the victory. I got the victory. Pay attention to the red flags, happens to be on the top. Chemistry, getting to know each other. Deception, chemistry. So back at the top, repeated chemistry, getting to know each other. Pay attention to red flags. past life relationship, keep an open mind, attraction, soulmate, past life relationship, repeat, past life relationship, finances and career. This could be the one. Soulmate, free yourself, chemistry. This could be the one. Repeat, this could be the one. Soulmate, heart-to-heart conversations. Love yourself first. Getting to know each other. Soulmate, you deserve love. Codependency. Children. Chemistry. This could be the one. Soulmate. So there was a repeat. Religious factor. Chemistry. Attraction. Soulmate. Starting to see some repeats there of the pattern as we go on. But when we first got into it, we were seeing some highlighted areas of concern, positive highlighted areas of concern, and also yellow, orange alert areas of concern. So let's see here. I skipped fast forward to the 10th position, which is the outcome. So I skipped ahead. Also, in the first spread that I developed, there was the 9 of Swords, 2 of Fire, and the Knight of Cups. So that was a positive output as well. So 2 positive outputs, in the spreads developed. I went ahead and continued processing because I felt that there was a lot of energy still remaining in the deck. So I put it into a Celtic cross. So the Wheel of Fortune and the Ace of Cups is where the 10th position, which is the output, was sandwiched between with a lot of card combinations, which I ended up consolidating to get the Ace of Swords. For these card combinations that came out sandwiched between the Wheel of Fortune and the Ace of Cups. The Wheel of Fortune is what I call the spin cycle. It has been making appearances today throughout the houses. So here's the now these cards, the deck is stacked that I'm reading from, so with the intentions of looking at the element, looking at the elemental value, the sequential order, minor and or major arcana. So let's see, we're looking in the swords at the 4 of Swords, 5 of Swords, 6 of Swords, 7 of Swords, 8 of Swords, and 10 of Swords, because the 9 of Swords is already on the table in the first position. So 10 of Swords, Page of Swords, Knight of Swords, Queen, and King of Swords at the end of the day, what we have here. So then there's a loop. So, these card sequence, they, with the clarifier, there were occasions where there was deception. There were occasions where there was pay attention to the red flags sandwiched between. So if those are of importance, review the video if you'd like to around when those appearances were being stated in the clarifiers. And then it resonates with these card sequences that was sandwiched between before we got the isolated card there of the Ace of Swords. So if you can see in a sequential order, the 7 of Swords did make appearances. So that does point to deception, and pay attention to red flags. In today's reading, we also had a lot of signs that were had the 8 of Swords making appearances. I think most pronounced when it first made this stage was in the 3rd house, Gemini's house. So although in a general reading, all signs are present. So whenever a pronounced sign hits the stage, I like to preface it with that fact that all signs are present so that the current embodiment, the current sign that takes a pronounced stance on the stage isn't hijacking the reading, but they're making pronounced their presence pronounced here. So definitely there could be other Aquarius, 11th house. There could be Libra is making a pronounced appearance here, 7th house, and Gemini, the 3rd house. Their presence is here on the stage. So there's also a significant amount of fire here. So there could also be Leo, 5th house, Sagittarius, 9th house, Aries, 1st house energy here. And then we have Earth element is pronounced. So again, there goes the every sign is present because we're starting to pretty much mention all of the signs on the stage, right? At the moment, there's a pronounced earth element on the stage, especially all of them: Virgo, Capricorn, Taurus, Capricorn, Taurus. So everybody's here. Here's Cancer making a pronounced entrance here, and then there's also Pisces and Scorpio energy as well. So everybody's here, guys. The outcome, is where I really mentioned those air signs there because it's in the outcome. At the end of the day, we're looking at a lot of the air energy there. And also because where the Eight of Swords made an appearance in a prolific way was the 3rd house, Gemini's house. So, and the 9 of Swords is in the 1st position. So that's strong. Gemini energy as well. Mars in Gemini is in the 9 of Swords type energy. But let's see here. So yeah, there's a high likelihood that Aquariuses are dealing with other air signs. But again, do not be discouraged, or if you feel your energy is here, your sign is here, because every sign is definitely here. So with the 11th house having a lot of air energy, there's a high likelihood that the 7th house is heavily influenced here. That's Libra's house, and the 3rd house heavily influenced here. That's Gemini's house. But let's see here. So those are some background notes to take notice. Let's see. Oh, and 4th house, Cancer's house. And the Hermit, 6th house, Virgo's house, Capricorn, 10th house, Taurus, 2nd house. So technically, let's see. The 2nd house, Taurus's house, potential. There could be some subtle hints toward being in the challenging position. 2nd house. This is currently where the wounded healer, the wounded warrior is. Retrograde at the moment. So that retrograde points to the energies being reflected internally, felt internally, and it's all talking about raising one's value system, raising one's self-worth. And then with the 9 of Swords in the 1st position, which represents the thesis statement, there could be, basically looks like some agitation that the current, and then in the case of Twin Flame, when it's Aquarius's, name being called, it could be someone in Aquarius's energy field that this is impacting, but someone is, dealing with raising their worth, raising their values, and it's like the stress that you're going through is the catalyzation that is expressed and alchemized with the wounded warrior to inspire you to raise your worth, raise your value system. And in this way, it feels like with or without you intentionally doing it, it's happening. It's happening by default. It's happening naturally in the course without you even really having to do anything. you focusing, noticing it will be helpful in this process, but it looks like it's going to happen on its own regardless, because this Nine of Sword energy is so intense that you pretty much have no choice but to look at your situation and to pick yourself up and realize your potential is higher than where you realized it to be in the past. So that's something that's being stated here. And what else? Yeah. So the Eight of Swords, the Eight of Swords is what we were talking about and feeling. The third house, Gemini's house. So one of the things that our person of interest is going through is the fact that there's some obligations that they've been holding on to, some obligations that they've been feeling like, you know, according to their moral standards, according to their current hardwired mentalities, they felt obligated to hold on to. And that self-imposed imprisonment and, the catalyzation that's taking place here as described with the wounded warrior's influence, for an example, to raise one sense of value. It feels like this eureka moment will be understood and more clear lines will be defined in regard to like hidden enemies, ulterior motives and agendas, those obligations that you once held on to that you start to realize you can let go of. They either fall off themselves, and or you let go of them. And it feels like you're able to release because you've gotten the closure. A lot of the times the Eight of Swords is there talking about unfinished business and one needing a sense of closure that, that's why they're still standing there. So it looks like closure, you know, um, and just releasing this self-imposed imprisonment, having a understanding, it feels like, of the obligations that you're still holding on to because there's unfinished business or soul ties or collaborations, entanglements going on, co-parenting, business partners, for an example, or these connections that are just so much on a soul level that, yeah, they're not going anywhere. It's not going anywhere. There's this, but there could be still some work to do in regard to those connections. For example, you know, um, so yeah, that type of energy on the stage. Ten of Swords, again, like the intensity is going to get so much that this clarity is going to be had. It's just not a matter of if, but when, more so. Information, communication, understanding, inner over understanding. Let's see, Queen of Swords and King of Swords. So there again, for those of you who are an air and air connections, your air signs connections, King and Queen of Swords. But even outside of them actually being air signs, like I said, all signs are present, but it could just embody the symbolic nature of their meaning, King and Queen of Swords. Some of them are basically, I mean, the King and Queen of Swords, they're focused, intentional, intellectual, standing their ground, standing on business, not easily fooled or persuaded, because they have their direction and they're moving to the beat of their own drum type energy, the beat of their own drum. So the Ace of Swords is the output there. So these card combinations that we just went through, the Suit of Swords from the Four of Swords to the King of Swords, sandwiched between the Ace of Cups and the Wheel of Fortune. So it almost, it gives basically, and coming out with the Ace of Swords, that Wheel of Fortune is the spin cycle. The Wheel of Fortune is, chaos. in the midst of order in the midst of chaos, and testing the ground that you stand on, testing your principles and hardwired thought patterns, and seeing if indeed at the end of the day, at the end of that spin cycle, if what you're standing on is sure. The proof is in the pudding at that point. So you have the Ace of Swords. So it's like, again, that energy that with the Eight of Swords that we were talking about, when one is holding on out of their own obligations, and because they are not finished, their own unfinished business, or that spin cycle, again, test those connections and help you come to that understanding, that insight, the eureka moment, that some of the connections, some of the obligations, some of those soul ties are not necessary for you to hold on to anymore. Some of them are basically phantom ghosts. Yeah, they're counterfeits, or they're not meant to be there type energy, just fluctuating on the scale of potential, from the most subtle to the more serious and extreme. Let's see what else. So the Hermit is in the 9th position, which represent internal atmosphere energy, and the 8th position is the 8 of Fire, so that's in the external atmospheric part of the reading. And in the 6th placement is the energies coming toward the current in the near future, coming toward this reading from the near future. So these, the Queen of Cups, again, that's also Cancer's embodiment, but it's also Pisces, the 12th house, Cancer is the 4th house, and Scorpio, the 8th house. So we have those readings we've gotten to already. So you see, externally coming towards the Queen of Cups is the 8 of Fire. So that's some form of clearing the air. Let's take a look at how this air is being cleared. Get more context there. Eight of Fire. Is pointing me to the 9 of Swords, which is in the 1st position. 4 of Pentacles, holding back. That has Taurus energy, 2nd house energy, but holding back. So at that, now it looks like I need to take notes and write it down so I don't forget, because I'm already... So these are from the notes taken from earlier live stream, part 1. Gemini's reading. And I'm going to take similar notes here as I clarify the 8th position in this reading. Aquarius, aka the 11th house. Interestingly enough, in the 8th position, where there's the 8 of Fire, typically there's a high likelihood that the 8 of Fire is communication. And the 3rd house, the 3rd house governs communication, information, logic, intelligence. In the 10th position, which is the outcome, we've seen the Page of Swords, the Knight of Swords. So that's like the delivery of communication, a call, some documents, paperwork. The 8 of Swords, being that embodiment of communication, typically comes electronically, comes through electronically, like in a text message, or, over the airwaves. Radio, social media. Thank you so much for your support on the video and on the channel. Appreciate you so much. We're going to, get ready to take some notes because I'm going to slow it down and I don't want to miss any details to the best of my ability as clarifying this 8 of fire in the 8th position. Notice the 8s. 8 of fire, 8th position. Queen of Cups, 8th house, Scorpio. 13 major arcana potentially. But looking at the 8s. 8s. Aquarius. Eighth position. Eight of Swords. And this was in a stacked deck. Got the Eight of Swords. Four of Pentacles. Emperor, aka 4th major arcana. Four fours. Four of Pentacles, 4th major arcana. Nine of Swords. Correction, that was not the Eight of Swords, that was the Nine of Swords in the first. Right here. Nine of Swords makes an appearance again here in the clarifiers. Nine of Pentacles. Nine of Swords. Nine of Pentacles. Notice the nines. The High Priestess wanted to be seen around the Empress. The High Priestess is the 2nd major arcana, and the Empress is the 3rd major arcana. Seven of Cups. Four of Pentacles. Magician, aka the 1st major arcana. Six of Swords. The Page of Fire, aka 11 of Fire. Okay, and the Apprentice, aka the Zero Major Arcana. Alright. Seven of Cups. Nine of Pentacles. 13 Major Arcana, aka, well, I haven't done AKAs yet. Seven of Cups. Nine of Pentacles. Hangman, aka, so let's see. This is the 12th Major Arcana. Let's see. Yeah, so I said I didn't do the AKAs yet. I think I did. My bad. Yeah, because the 4th Major Arcana is the Emperor that made an appearance. The 2nd Major Arcana that made an appearance with the 3rd Major Arcana was the High Priestess and the Empress. The 1st Major Arcana is the Magician. And then we have the 12th Major Arcana. Oh, wait. The Magician. The 0 Major Arcana is the Apprentice. The 13th Major Arcana is the Death card. And the 12th Major Arcana is the Hangman. So my bad. I didn't read it out loud because I didn't want to color it and lose some of the interpretation. Sorry, but to be consistent. Okay. So the 12th Major Arcana, then the 7 of Cups. The 10 of Pentacles. The 6 of Fire. Thank you, God. And the Apprentice, aka 0 Major Arcana. Three of Cups. Seven of Pentacles. Two of Fire. The Magician, aka 1st Major Arcana. Well, let's do it. Nine of Swords. Seven of Fire. And the Apprentice, aka 0 Major Arcana. Okay, so I want to keep going because I could keep going, and the storyline seems pretty interesting. Like, I would like to collect more data, but this is a general reading, so let's, technically I should have stopped a long time ago, like the first time the Apprentice made an appearance. So because the Apprentice is the card that comes on the stage to potentially close me out as far as my clarifiers. So going beyond that potentially indicates going on beyond like a cipher, a karmic cipher. Maybe, you know, some chapters are prolonged. So I wanted to get the most information that I could about this 8 of Fire. Yeah, that's in the external atmosphere of the reading, headed towards the Queen of Cups. What is this communication about? What is this information about? Some of the clarifiers seem to speak on, okay, and it points to the reminder that we're in the 11th house, which deals with the global organizations and large groups, you know, what I call the world stage. Because I was going to say, it looked like some of this communication and information, the electronic forms of it, is like, feels like it's on a somebody observing from a remote distance. So it looked like they were watching it on a, you know, on their mobile device or on TV or something like that, right? Yeah, like headlines coming across the news, for an example. Like this information looked like it was received remotely. So I was like, oh, why is that happening? Oh, we're in the 11th house. Okay, we're on the world stage. So there's a high likelihood that the information is obtainable, um, yeah, on the world stage media platforms. So let's see. So on the world stage media platforms, how does this coincide with its interaction with the Queen of Cups? So I mean, the first thing that comes to mind is the Queen of Cups pointing to the fourth house, which is Cancer's house. The Queen of Cups pointing to the 12th house, Pisces house, and the Queen of Cups pointing to the 8th house, Scorpio's house. Now, the fourth house, the archetype, would be the Chariot. I haven't seen the presence of its archetype make the stage over here quite yet. Not in the major arcana form, but we have seen the eighth house archetype on the table, and that's the 13 major arcana, the death card. And we also seen the 12th house major arcana archetype, which is the hangman. So this Queen of Cups is highly pointing towards uh, Pisces and towards uh, Scorpio. Okay, now, and I'm looking for Cancer, the fourth house. Okay, it's right there. That's where I'm finding it off the top. Now, interestingly, like where I would find the fourth house almost feels like it would be right here, but for some reason, yeah, right here. But I got the five of fire right there, so there's some sort of block. And it almost feels like protection, like a block. It feels like a protective block. But I'm feeling it in the ethers. I'm shooting in the dark. I'm putting the pieces together as they come, right? But more so, I'm putting the pieces together almost like puzzle pieces on the table. Still, it's in the puzzles. The puzzle is not developed yet. So we're still kind of basically taking some background notes here. I feel like the fourth house is right here, which is crowning the reading, crowning the atmosphere. It would be right here, but it feels like there's a block, and for some reason it feels that it's a protective block. I don't know. More additional information on that pending. And of course, with the additional information on that, I feel like there could be a redirection, additional information, or a reiteration there. But let's see what else. Uh, says, what's this about? Hey, hope you're doing well. Okay. This about the 11th house of Aquarius's house. So far, it looks like there's a lot going on in the house. Potentially, there's a lot of notes, background notes here. So I'm in the process of developing the reading? Good question. Thank you. And then for personal reading requests, there was one in the chat, but that would be a perfect example of why I don't stop what I'm doing to do that, because, for example, whoever asked, they're not still here in the chat. I would potentially be doing that reading, getting off track of what I'm doing, and they're not even still here. That wouldn't work out. And then all my energy would have probably been spent on that personal reading that's not even here, or they didn't have the time, or they're not a supporter, or they're not subscribed. Maybe they are. But then I'll be out of energy and I wouldn't be able to work on this reading. So let's see. And then I had to... But again, there's a lot of reasons why that could happen. Somebody could be busy living their life, or they're supported, they're subscribed, they like the video. And in that case, there's a high likelihood that if I'm unable to answer the question right now, it being in the chat could add some resonance here in our general readings, and they'll find their context there in general readings. And or when the live stream opens up for personal reading sessions, they'll probably be right there in the analytics to ask the question. We'll see. But let's see, back to this reading right here. What is it? Oh, so yeah, to look at what was being stated here, looking at this communication and the 8th placement headed towards the Queen of Cups. So let's see, 9 of Swords, which is right here in our thesis statement. 4 of Pentacles. So it looks like, first of all, this communication or the information as described feels like it's stressful, and it almost feels like the current here. And again, when Aquarius is named, there's a likelihood that it's someone in Aquarius's energy field, but it looks like they don't want to see, they necessarily don't want to see what's on the screen, but it's coming to them anyway. So for example, that looks like this. Let's see, because the 9 of Swords made an appearance, and this is the energy that's being clarified. So it's like they don't want to see that this is information that they don't necessarily want to be having or seeing or realized, but it's coming to them anyway. So the 4 of Pentacles, the 9 of Swords, and the 4 of Pentacles. It makes them want to clutch their pearls tight. They're clutching their pearls and turning their heads in shame. And interesting enough, that's in our first position, the thesis statement. The first position represents the thesis statement. Second position represents the challenge. So even there, in that context, that information is heavy hitting, because even here, looking at the challenge, so it's like, this is the challenge. We've seen information coming towards them that they didn't necessarily want to see. But then the challenge is, this is what they do want to see. This is what they do want to see. So it almost looks like the information that they're seeing is kind of like seeing the emperor without clothes. They're turning away. Oh no. Clutching their pearls. Oh no. But they still have, they still want. They're still, it's challenged. We'll get more context to why. But let's see. So yeah, we have the 9 of Swords, 4 of Pentacles, and the 4th major arcana. So what is that? The Emperor and the 9 of Swords again. So it feels like this. That's interesting. Wow. Let's see here. Hmm. Interesting. Interesting. Okay. So here, again, this is the challenge because, you know, they're clutching the pearls. Oh no. You know, there's my lover on the big screen, seeing stuff I don't necessarily want to see. Oh no. And now, potentially, there's two, what is it, two people? Because we're going to get into it when it's the high priestess and the empress. So, looks like this goes either way for the masculine and the feminine. There looks like you're looking at multiple people on the stage, for an example. Oh no, I don't want to see that. Oh no, for both of them. They got the masculine, like, so his, because it's all energy specific, not gender specific. He's looking at his person on the big stage with somebody else. Oh no. Uh, there's emperors on there. We're going to see her later looking at on the big stage someone else with the high priestess and the empress. Well, I think I'm flipping those genders around, but you see what it is? Then let's see what else happens. It's a challenge. Hello in the chat. Hey you guys, thank you for your support on the video and on the channel. Let's see, what else are they looking at there? Alright, so the Emperor made the stage. 9 of Swords. Oh no. 9 of Pentacles. Alright, so what's being stated about that is... Oh goodness. 9 of Swords and 9 of Pentacles. So that's where I'm seeing the Empress with the Empress with the High Priestess. The Emperor with the King of Pentacles. The Empress with the High Priestess. So there could be multiple people on the screen. And then also you're looking at the Empress with the High Priestess and the Emperor with the King of Pentacles. So that could also be speaking to the value. You know, the Emperor has the means, you know, enterprising, entrepreneur, you know, an empire, you know, has it all, wealthy. So the Emperor with the King of Pentacles could also be talking about this is their person of interest, and those two card combinations are speaking to their characters, their attributes, qualities. And then in like-minded, the Empress next to the high priestess could indicate this Empress and how intuitive she is and how abundant she is and fruitful that she is, you know, magical even, you know, powerful. With the high priestess next to her could be also pointing to her attributes. And also okay, we're going to put a pin in that and see what's next. So with the 9 of Pentacles, with the 9 of Swords, there's an indication that this energy, this information is going to hurt some, it looks like. Oh no, for some, and for others, it feels like the Corinth, though, the one on the stage, they're in their element. They're in their element. So some will be offended while others are in their element. It's just how they want it. They like that situation like that. It kind of points to what we are reading in the third house when it was coming on the stage, and it almost looked like there was obstructive interference, but there was indication that at that point, the person of interest, somebody was satisfied with that Three of Pentacles. That person that was potentially seen before as obstructive interference, that would have been another storyline, because right now on the table there is somebody who's very satisfied. That person is absolutely not going away, and if it wasn't them, it'd be somebody else type energy. If it wasn't them, it would be somebody else. So that obstructive interference, that static or whatever it was to their person of interest, wasn't going anywhere. And so it was almost looking like they're the pink elephant in the room was to either accept that and heal that part of the connection, or they have to go ahead and cut their losses and walk away, because it wasn't, the dynamic wasn't going to change. And so that type of storyline was expressed in the third house, which we did today. It would have been in part 1 of today's daily readings, entitled 1 through 3. So let's see, let's pick up where we left off. Then there's the Seven of Cups. So I feel like that resonates with the storyline that I just seen, because I was describing the energy, and it's talking about Seven of Cups on there. So it's like, oh no. Somebody else is like, oh yes. And then it's the question of, well, what are you going to do now? How are you going to, make peace with this arrangement, or go ahead and cut your losses? What is it going to look like if and when you decide to cut your losses and walk away? What is that going to look like? Or also, it felt like a mirror image of the same type of energy output that you would decide to walk away would be the same type of energy output that you would decide to stay. And then it points me back to the 8th house reading, where it looked like, and I'm pointing over here because Scorpio, the 8th house was highlighted over here, made an appearance over here. And in today's 8th house reading, it was looking like you can't lose type energy. Perspective is everything, context is everything. I try to be objective so you can lay your storyline down if it resonates, etc. But it looked like they couldn't lose whatever they're going to do. They were at a crossroad. They could go this way or they could go that way. But it looked like whichever way they decided to do, they were going to intuitively do it. If they didn't make a decision, it looked like that decision would be made for them. But it looked like they couldn't lose. And that was curious to me as the reader, like, oh wow. But that's what it was looking like energetically. So let's see what else. The Four of Pentacles. Okay, so it's almost as if to say, well, in that field of options and, uncertainty and overwhelmed emotions, etc., the Four of Pentacles come back on the stage, which is, holding back because overextending oneself or tapping into that energy, it feels like it would be at their own expense, like they can't afford to, be generous or risky. Speaking of risky, the 5th house has been dealing with risky behavior type energy too. So check that one out if that resonates, to get that information about that. But it looks like someone's clutching their pearls, like, oh my goodness. And then with that type of energy, if it is the Seven of Cups and then it's clutching pearls instead of, maybe if there's a crossroad and somebody's clutching their pearls instead of moving in a certain direction, then it looks like there could be a missed opportunity. But then it was interesting how that missed opportunity came on the table. Now, what house was that where it looked like? Was that the 9th house? Where it looked like there was a missed opportunity, but then it looked like it wasn't a missed opportunity? Or was that the 8th house? And it was really strange. I forget now. But wherever that reading was, it looked like, wow, it looks like there's a missed opportunity. Almost like timing was out of alignment. But it's real odd to look at timing out of alignment. But then again, it looks like timing is in alignment. Like that, colloquial term. He might not show up when you want him, referring to the Most High is where it comes from, but he's always on time. But we talked about it in that house uh, where we seen the temperance and we seen the hangman. So here, hangman, 12th house, uh, this 8 of fire moving towards this Queen of Cups. So there was a hangman around the temperance that was alchemizing the situation, putting things into alignment, kind of like hitting the pause button, almost like that when we're watching our, favorite sci-fi movie or action movie and somebody has, the power to freeze time so that they could, make their moves and still be on time. But we used it as the register scenario. Somebody's at the register at the checkout and the line is long and everybody's stressed out, their feet is hurting, but you remember you forgot something and you're like, oh, do you guys mind? And you're kind of looking around at the line trying to gauge if there's going to be a riot, or and at the cashier, like, will you be okay if I just run off for a second, go grab something I forgot? And everybody's just like, yeah, go ahead and go get it. Because even though everybody's feet hurt, we all know what that's like. And it looked like the cashier got a whole bunch of stuff to ring up. So if you know where it is, go hurry up and go get it. And it looks like you'll be back on time before she's even done ringing you up type energy. Giving time and allowances for things to come into synchronicity. Because it looks like 4 of Pentacles, clutching my pearls. Oh no, what am I going to do? But I don't necessarily see any decisive movement anywhere. There's almost like a paralyzed, oh my goodness, what is this and what do I do with that? So it looks like though by default, if you don't make a move yourself, one will be made for you. And it looks like you can't lose in any case. The 6 of Swords takes the stage. And that's moving from toxicity into a better situation, especially mentally. And where the mind goes, the rest follows. So the 6 of Swords, and then the 11 of Fire. And the 11 of Fire is, hey guys, I noticed that there is more support on the video. Thank you so much for that. Hello in the chat. Appreciate you so much. Hey guys, so with that 11 of Fire, that is the Page of Fire, and technically that's Sagittarius's energy. It points to the 9th house. So we've done that reading before. You would look over here. That would be Sagittarius's house, and this area would have the 9 in sight as you're scrolling back to that house reading. We did it today. Looks like that would be in part 2, titled 4 through 10. But let's see what else. Yeah, so Sagittarius, the Page of Fire, takes the stage around the 6 of Swords, moving out of toxicity into a better situation. And then that's right, followed up for the the first major arcana, the Magician, and looking at the 4 of Pentacles preceding that, which is clutching pearls. Oh my goodness, oh no type energy. But so it looks like somebody has an ace in the hole, so to speak, moving out of toxicity into a better situation. And the 11 of Fire, the Page of Fire, Sagittarius energy, and then the 0 major arcana, a new chapter. So going back to Sagittarius's energy on the stage here, the archetype for the Page of Fire is the Temperance, the alchemist energy. So we kind of talked about the alchemizing before we seen it hit the stage. Definitely was feeling the 12th house, which is the Hangman. And now with the Temperance, that's a confirmation of that resonance they're talking about. Things are coming into alignment, even if there was a slight out of time energy there, giving grace. And I feel like I'm really stuck over here waving around in the challenging energy, but here's where we're clarifying right there. So that's interesting. Now this is the challenge to the thesis statement area. But here's the external energy in the atmosphere coming towards the current in the near future. And this is the information being clarified in these 8 of Fire energy. So it's like, where am I getting that from? Because it feels like there we're looking at the communication and the information, but it's from a remote location. Is what it felt like. A remote location is what it felt like there. Seeing it on the big screen, there's a high potential for that. But not only that, this comes in the form of text messages, so, in one's own personal electronic devices, emails, these correspondences. But let's see what's going on. Okay, so then you have Sagittarius. Oh, yeah. So Sagittarius's archetype is the temperance, the alchemist, blending elements together that don't normally mix well. And let's see what else. So then you have a new chapter, a new beginning with the zero major arcana, Seven of Cups. So even after that new beginning and that alchemization process has started in a new chapter, I already said new beginning, the Seven of Cups. So it looks like there's still that emotional disorientation there. And then there's the Nine of Pentacles. So after the dust settles, so it kind of feels a little bit like 10th house reading. One of the hypotheticals used was the person, energy returned home, where it's supposed to be, um, their haven, their safe place, where the family is, what it's all, what their hard work is for, what they're doing it all for. They're home and they're still emotionally disoriented. They're still kind of foggy. But as the dust starts to settle, they realize, yes, this is what I'm doing it for. This is what it's all for. They find themselves in a beautiful home. It looks like the work, everything that they work hard for, they find a sense of pleasure in that, satisfaction. Okay, yeah, this is Ace of Swords, clarity. This is good. This is all right. We could do that. And I'm starting to feel like some context resonance where it's like, oh, there's the Five of Fire there. There's a block there, but it also, in a sense, feels like it's protection. What was that? What is that about? I don't know. But at the moment, we're looking at things in the midst of the chaos when the dust settles. Aquarius is finding, yes, this is what I'm working for. This is what I'm working hard for. And it is good. So let's see. Let's catch up. Where was that at? In their new chapter. The zero major arcana, the Seven of Cups, the Nine of Pentacles. Now the 13 major arcana makes an appearance there, and that's the Death card, and that's also Scorpio's embodiment. And also with that, it feels like, okay, so after the dust settles, Aquarius is satisfied with what they see as was described. And it feels like with that 13 major arcana making an appearance, all right, it feels like we're coming back on the stage describing uh, what we saw in the Two of Swords, where there was a path to take. You either go this way or you go that way, and if you don't make a choice, one will be made for you, but it looks like you can't lose. It almost feels like intuitively, even if subconsciously you're moving in the direction meant to, it almost seems like the path of least resistance will be met for you. Context is everything. It makes more sense. Seeing the Temperance make an appearance and Hangman energy makes an appearance. We speak on it often and what that means. But yeah, so that's what that's feeling like right there. And then the natural outcome of that too is the other path starts to diminish. All right, there I'm feeling like context for, hey, why do I have this Five of Fire? I feel like the Four of Fire, I feel like Cancer's energy, the fourth house is right over here, but it's blocked. It doesn't look like Cancer energy at all. It feels like it intuitively, but what's up with that? Because all the things. But yeah, right there again. But it feels like, okay, so the 13 major arcana begins to just naturally, that other pathway, because they're going this way, dissolves. The 13 major arcana is the embodiment that brings about a purge and removing blockages off of the current's path to make energies more conducive coming towards them in the near future. You know, Very interesting. Well, let's see what happens next. 13 major arcana. And then, of course, I do need to pause, even though I'm not seeing its application at the moment in regard to the 13th house, or, pardon me, the 13 major arcana being the death card, uh, that there has been a running storyline and it still continues to be on the stage at the moment where the death card is referring to a transition where someone has crossed over and today we also did see a new beginning with that as well, with a new arrival and conception in the 8th house. We've seen that. We're making a respectful pause for those who have crossed over. Respectfully. And so picking up, however, because that was mentioned, because I don't want it to blindside anyone else, we don't want that to blindside anybody, even when that subject matter comes back up. However, I'm not seeing it in context at the moment. It was more so representing what have been described so far. And let's see, what else? All right. Oh, okay. But yeah, about the new arrivals. Yeah, a new arrival made its appearance in the 8th house, Scorpio's house. And it was mentioned today. It made its brief appearance on the stage today in part 2 in the title 4 through 10. Alright, so let's pick up where we left off there. 13 major arcana, 7 of cups, 9 of pentacles, 12th major arcana, that's the hangman. So we had described that energy. We had seen its embodiments on the stage. We spoke about it, especially how it came out in tandem with the temperance energy. We felt them together working. Now it's taking its position on the stage here right now after the 9 of pentacles, the hangman, 12th major arcana, and the 7 of cups. And the output of that 10 of pentacles, 6 of fire makes an appointment, and the 0 major arcana. So we're headed towards a new chapter, a new beginning. And remember what was stated about that as we were collecting that information. And I says, oh, it looks like a couple of karmic chapters may have preceded or been within these clarifiers, because technically there was a new beginning. We described that around Sagittarius's, aka the temperance energy around. And then interestingly enough, likewise, after that new beginning, there was still the 7 of cup energy, where there was that, disorienting, emotional, energetic embodiment on the stage. So likewise, in this new chapter that I'm looking at making an appearance, let's see now. This time around, it feels like it's more balanced, more positive, more supportive, yeah, than before. But it worked itself out before too, and that we've already read that part. So the reason I say that this time is because before there was the temperance, the Cero Major Arcana, the apprentice, the embodiment that represents a new beginning, was sandwiched between the temperance, which is the alchemist, and the 7 of cups, which is the emotional disorientation. So it looked like there was more disturbance, but we saw positive embodiments, especially with the temperance making the stage, that this emotional imbalance was going to settle uh, in a favorable way. And sure enough, shortly after, around that 7 of cup, the emotional disorientation, the 9 of pentacles made an appearance. But interestingly enough, as we're looking at it, even that 9 of pentacles almost feels a little brief, depending on the context, because then there comes the 13 major arcana. Again, that's where it was kind of up in the air about what was being discussed, pointing to the 8th house. So then after that, there's the 7 of cups. So that's emotional disorienting again, which could be overwhelmed, disorienting. But we go into that Seven of Cups definitions quite often, so we're going to continue. Then again, there's the Nine of Cups, though. So it feels like the dust settles and there's still favorability, there's still satisfaction there. Then the 12th major arcana, the Hangman, and the Seven of Cups. So this emotional disorienting again makes an appearance. Then the dust settles and it's still positive with the Ten of Pentacles, still positive with the Six of Fire, which talks about supportive energy. And then the new chapter appears with the Zero major arcana, the Apprentice. And so that new beginning is sandwiched between positive energy with the supportive embodiment and the Six of Fire and the Three of Cups, like a celebration. Okay. And then instead of the Seven of Cups, it's the Seven of Pentacles that takes the stage after the after the Three of Cups, the celebration. The Seven of Pentacles, okay, so that looks like, all right, so there's a sense of success, support, celebration. Now going back to the drawing board uh, to get into some planning, to get into some assessments in regard to, okay, now how do I nurture this situation? Where do I need to prune the situation? Where do I need to cut off? And so, and cut my losses type energy. And then that's doubled down again, like the person goes, matter of fact, like they go to their pinnacle bush, and they make this assessment, and this is the object of concern, of consideration. How do I nurture this situation type energy? And then we're looking at the Two of Fire. Now this is on the stage here. They're looking at their perspective. They're looking at their situation from the biggest perspective possible. And they're seeing, now in this context, we've already started to touch on it, like, oh, this is where they were clutching their pearls. This is where the emperor was without clothes. This is where their object of affection was, however. We've talked about it, right? And all of that. So technically, as they take the stage at this point, in this clarifying stage where the Eight of Fire was, they're taking that to make their biggest assessment now. So, hey, we talked about it. We've seen the Emperor. The King of Pentacles is here, but we talked about it. Their person of interest, for an example, right? So it almost looks like they take the stage to look at this. Okay, let's look at this now. Cut losses. Can I nurture this? Or can I, or should I go ahead and, well, I'm going to repeat myself. So looking at this and assessing it. So let's see what else. And then the first major arcana, Nine of Swords, Seven of Fire, and then the new chapter, the Apprentice embodiment makes an appearance. Okay, so I wanted to read that out, but I had already in my mind wanted to go back over here where, let's see if I can find it again. Zero major arcana. Let's see, Hangman, Nine of Pentacles. So I feel like I gotta go back here where the 13 major arcana. Let me see. Oh, yeah, that's what I wanted to say. Is that it seemed like by the time our person of interest, Aquarius, was prepared to go to, their pinnacle bush and look at it to see, okay, what do I need to do with this? Do I nurture it? Do I continue in my long suffering? Or am I going to cut my losses on this? It looked like the universe had already conspired to begin purging the blockages, removing your obstacles, making energy more conducive to come toward you, all the things that was stated. Seems like by the time Aquarius gets themselves up and gets to go over there and check out their pinnacle bush, the decision has already been made for them. So it looks like when they start looking at it, they're going to see exactly what they're intended to see, and that's going to help them in their decision process of deciding, okay, now, like for an example, that pinnacle bush is gone. I ain't spending my time on that no more. We're gonna toss that one out, you know. Or, oh, okay, yeah, this pinnacle bush definitely has potential. And it might even be the case of, ooh, if I better hurry up and put this in some light because I don't want to lose it. And it looks like, oh my goodness, I could have almost lost that, you know, type. But oh, thank God it's still there. Then they quickly get back. Now that's the catalyzation, that's the spark that we've been talking about that's happening throughout the houses. That, for an example, is what we're talking about in the second house, where the wounded healer is, and intrinsically raising values. You know, that's the spark. Oh my goodness, wait, let me get on that right away. You know, we almost lost it. We can't afford to do that. Then there's almost like, you know, pruning. That's when they might start uh, taking grafts of the plant and putting it, sprouting roots. You know how you can repropagate, if that's a word. Don't know, but they could take, that's when they go into real like overdrive salvage mode because they don't want to lose that. And then I'm feeling 10th house energy a bit around there, Capricorn, 15 major arcana as well, the devil card energy as well. Just got to mention it because that's all of it is tied up. 10th house, also the cusps, Aquarius, Capricorn type energy. But the reason I say that is because in the 10th house, we were talking about how someone's intrinsic value was being raised. Even naturally, they either went to school to do, but even if you went to school, it almost indicates you're on the top of your class. If you went to school and you're not on the top of your class, for example, but this reading resonates, it's like off on and or off paper, your value has raised. It's just like this, even just naturally. Oh, Aquarius, okay, I'm ready to go look at that. But something divine has already taken place behind the scenes. So in Capricorn's reading, it's almost as if, hey, Capricorn, have you ever negotiated your price before? And some Capricorns might be like, no, I haven't actually been in that situation. And I've always been kind of afraid to do that because I didn't want to end up with nothing. So I kind of took what was offered. And I'm just grateful that it's always worked out before. But do you negotiate my price, you say? Yeah, Capricorn, it looks like you can't lose type energy, you know? Because over here, it's like, oh my goodness, we almost lost it. Stat, get on it, get on it. What do we got to do to get them? You know, I don't know, boss. They look like they're pretty happy where they are. What? No way. Yeah, boss. I even went out there and asked them if they wanted to come back. They said no. They look. As a matter of fact, they did say they'll get back to me, but they didn't have the time because they were just so happy and laughing with their loved ones. Everybody, what? You mean you met with them? Yeah, boss. Well, I just happened to see them at the grocery store the other day. Oh, did you get their number? Well, actually, they did give me their call. Call them right away, right now. That could be the electric correspondences coming, you know what I mean, to your emails, to your whatever, your cell phones. Hey, you know, I heard that you got a new job. Yeah, I did actually. Well, we want you to come back. Oh, I don't know about that. Well, I'm pretty happy where I am. Whoa, name your price. You know, that type of energy. Stat, save that. You know, or that type of energy of, hey, you know what? I really want to get with the program, whatever that is. I'm getting in when as I fit in type, whatever it is, guys, whatever it is. Yeah, that's what it looks like was being described there. Let's see. Oh, and we already read, and so we've kind of read that, those clarifiers. So yeah, took time to read what was over there, what is being described over there. Why do we have the Ace of Swords here? Now we have the Hermit. So it's interesting what's going on. And the let's see, what is this comment that says you are not? So I don't understand what that comment means, but oops, hold on. I'm gonna put a little heart in the chat. I might delete it because I don't know if that's a naysayer or somebody that needs to be blocked on the channel. But anyhow, or if that's a positive comment, I just put a heart underneath there. And then what uh, goes on? So I'm curious about this hermit because in some readings, this hermit took the stage, and I forgot which reading it was, but it almost looked like, what is going on? I felt like it might have been the fourth house, in fact, and that's Cancer's house, and the Queen of Cups points to the fourth house, and yeah, I'm pretty sure that was that in that house, was it? But I could be wrong. And it almost was like, what is my lover doing? Because they were too, for some reason, they were too caught up in something that they were caught up in. So they didn't have the ability or something to see. They were too busy, something like that, to see what is my person doing over there? You know? And then it felt like potentially some insecurities might have come. Let's see what's going on in this hermit. Oh, thank you, God, for your goodness and your mercy. Okay, so is this something that I can work out? Do I have to slow it down and take notes before? Or can we see it and just keep reading it? Let's see. I'm prepared to do what it takes. I just want to thank you so much for your support on the channel and on the video. And thank you for interacting with me in the chat. No, but this would not be the deck to use to clarify. Thank you, God, for your goodness and your mercy. The deck to use looks like this one here. Eight of Pentacles, the Moon, and there's the Four of House. The Four of House. The Four of Fire that I was feeling over there. It feels like it's protected. I said, there goes a block, but it feels like there's protection right there. So I feel like since I'm seeing that Four of Fire right there, there's the house that I was feeling. I was feeling that to be around Cancer's energy, the Queen of Cups here. I feel like that is a confirmation because this energy in the Hermit is moving towards the Queen of Cups, and that's where the house is. So that's how I was thinking I would find it to be. That's how I was thinking I would find it to be. So I feel like that's a confirmation that there's protection, because you could see in this Hermit energy, I had to dig to see what's going on behind that Hermit, right? I had to clarify that, pull some cards, look, pray about it. And now I see that's where the house is. So it felt like there was a block, but it felt like it was protection. Interesting. That's where we're finding it. So there is the Eight of Pentacles. So there was work, and there's the house, and there's some moon energy around there. So almost feels like a hidden, something is hidden about it, but we're looking. So again, there's been this energy, this running storyline that was talking about somebody came home, they were emotionally disoriented. We explained it, described why and how. Definitely, where did that come home? Where did that come? It looked like it was 10th house, but I kind of forgot which house it was. But you would remember. So there it is. And so they came home, and this is where their bread and butter is. This is what they're doing it all for. This is And there's the house around the Eight of Pentacles. So they're working hard for this. And it almost seems like that moon energy confirms it's hidden, it's protected. There's a block around it. So this could be some housing, you know, a house. It looks like a house being built as well. A house being built. So for example, it could allude to the address of this location hidden. And there goes the Knight of Cups wanting to be seen too. We have been seeing throughout the readings, especially where inheritances were, you know, concerned. But the house had been making a lot of appearances throughout the readings too. But so I'll try to leave the reading and its interpretations as vague as possible so that, and that's the Knight of Cups, try to leave it as vague as possible so that the observer could find their storyline and place it there and find resonance as they need to, when and where they need, if they do, if it applies. So let's see what else we're looking at. Be clarified there. So yeah, it looks like a house. It looks like a house could be built, some housing situations. The housing also pointed to like a home office, the career, the business place. Now, what else about the housing? Oh, yeah, sudden wealth, the inheritance. What else was that? Oh, you guys know the running storyline about it. Let's see what else. Okay, and at times the house was a place where these meetups, you know, where the passion, where the family was, uh, etc. But fourth house, and there's been a running storyline in the fourth house about that, if nothing else. The fourth house. Okay, guys, Cancer's energy. Moving on, though, we're still clarifying the Hermit. And we're looking there to see Two of Cups. So here's a reunion. Here's love. So what's going on in that Hermit? Now, there could be a double life. There could be, another home, like multiple homes. So like for like a polygamy type of polyamorous relationship, for an example, there could be a couple different homes, family, where there's family, you know, lovers, you know, even the place where they meet up for their third party situations or whatever they have going on in rotation. But behind this Hermit, we're looking at a couple here, Two of Cups. And also with this having the Hermit there, who could talk about those connections that are going through healing, going through therapy. You know, for an example, it could be their own sense of therapy where they're somehow taking tools that are available for them and taking the quality time and having those heart-to-heart conversations and talking about their pink elephants, you know, in private, as had been described. That could be too. So let's see what else. All right, so we're also looking at the Eight of Pentacles making an appearance again. So that brings about, we're seeing repeated confirmations. And for me, that's like closing out that one clarifier. And potentially we could go into another to see what else. Because technically, I could either take that as one complete cipher of clarifiers, but it's the apprentice that really closes me out. You know, I feel like the Holy Spirit gives me the apprentice to close me out, so I could potentially keep going. All right, but here we go. So the Eight of Pentacles. Now we're seeing the Four of Fire again. So it almost looks like a repeat, because last time we seen the Four of Fire, it was around the Eight of Pentacles too. But again, there goes the housing situation being clarified with this Hermit. In the ninth position, internal atmosphere energy coming towards the current in the near future. And then there's the apprentice that I was talking about. Usually that's what I see to close me out. So yeah, there we go. Points to, again, the confirmation about the house, over here behind the five of fire, there's a block there. And here you can see that confirmation here in the hermit where it's reclusive, it's withdrawn. Energy. Okay, so what else? All right. Well, there's that. And there goes the Knight of Cups. I remember we were clarifying a certain position and it looked like the Knight of Cups was riding through. And that's grounding the reading right here. So let's see now. Now that we've worked this out a bit and got some puzzle pieces in our background notes, let's get back to the original spread that was on the table and see what that looks like now. Let's revisit that in just a moment. So I like to do that stuff right here. I'm still getting used to it. To show this part of the cards that want to be seen. Okay, so let's see what else. Okay, so we have, this was the original spread. Let's see here. It's interesting that what I just heard said. Someone like something like, and God said, "Let there be light," and God saw the light that it was good. But let's see here. So, I mean, just roughly speaking here, reading these energies off the page. I got one interpretation. I'm looking for another one just in case. But let's see. So one pronounced interpretation is somebody's lover is on the stage. But is this lover coming towards them? Are they coming? Because everything kind of looks static. But what's interesting is that this knight is not static. But where is it going? It knows where it's going though, because the King of Swords is very intentional and decisive. It knows exactly what it wants and knows how to go about getting it. Love. But it looks like someone's love has returned to them. And it feels like excitement, joy, tears of joy. Looks like there could be potential for marriage, engagement, proposals in the near, well, the time, I'm not really good at the time, but it looks like the trajectory is moving in that direction right now. The potential for that with the justice right here, Libra right there, the legalities right there. But it does feel like it's at a distance because the Two of Fire is like, I could see it on the horizon. The trajectory is there forward is what it looks like. But looking there, we got the King of Swords and we have the Knight of Cups. So really, really to solidify that interpretation, there would likely be a Knight of Pentacles there or some sort of pentacle, like maybe even the Ten of Pentacles over here would more so say that. But so it looks like it's in the trajectory, but it hasn't yet been realized. And it almost looks like because it's still really even far out as far as these couples coming together, there just feels like there's still distance between them, but it feels like so over here there could be missing, you know missing each other, thinking about each other, and while there's still this distance, could be having dreams about them, missing them, type energy. Could even be like a wet dream type because it looks like an ethereal type of dream, an ESP type of connection, thinking about one another in a favorable way with the Nine of Pentacles. But then there's also grief, and it feels like the grief could be like, oh, the one that got away type energy, or the one that's just too far type energy. When are you coming? Okay, and so with that too, it felt like calling in your soulmate. So it could be like if there's not a lover in the picture right now, and again with that lover being personified, it could be a wish, a desire, something inanimate, but calling it in. And looks like so it's on the horizon. If it's not in your vicinity now, it's on the horizon coming towards you. You could see it, you could probably feel it, taste it type energy. It's got your name on it type energy, so that's something that's being described here. Feels like for a single Aquarius, and not exclusively only single, but it does look like a single Aquarius who has the potential to definitely get into a relationship and have everything it takes to get that connection off the ground, and to have abundance and longevity and sustainability in this connection. Beauty, feeling like, oh, I was about to say, why am I feeling Venus over here? Definitely looking at Venus over here. But this is Venus and Virgo type energy, and this is literal Venus energy there too. So, yeah, like, where do you see marriage? Right here type energy. Seventh house. And it looks beautiful like this. So, and it looks like highly anticipated over here. And it looks like highly, you know, you say when somebody manifests it over there, it's right there, you know, the Most High, the universe conspiring to bring it together right there. So with all that, that's how you can see, ooh, it looks like the trajectory is moving in that direction, but I still see that there's distance, and you know that could be far out into the data is not available because I'm left on a cliffhanger right there. But that's one thing that's being stated. And also, because of the previous reading that we did see, and we saw all of that highlighted clarifier around the Nine of Swords, where it was like, oh, somebody's clutching their pearls, and they're over there like, oh my, you know, oh no, you know, I don't want to see that. I don't want to know that. You know, so it also indicates that there could be something that they seen about their lover that, you know, gave them pause for a minute, put them in some shock for a second. This Nine of Swords, even as mental torment, like I didn't want to see, I didn't want to know that. I didn't know that. But still, at the end of the day, they come to compromise to resolve, like, ooh, well, you know, like even the Most High revealing things like that was stuff that you were supposed to see. You know how sometimes the God Most High reveals to us what we need to see, we might not have wanted to see. There goes the dream again, you know, revealed it to you like, here, before you make this decision, beloved, did you know this about this person? And no, God, I didn't know. Well, is it something that you still want to, because you're calling in your soulmate and you're honing into this particular love interest, and this love interest is moving towards you type energy. But are you sure that you want it? Because let me show you something that they're not showing you type of energy. You know, this is something that otherwise, I mean, they put you in a position. I mean, the Most High, the universe can conspire to put you in a position where they do show you, oh, hey, wow, I didn't know, you know, because they don't necessarily have anything to hide. Like, oh, yeah, hey, so yeah, I didn't expect you to call or didn't expect to talk to you, but and then just even by just naturally listening in the background, being attentive, maybe even because you had the premonition to call at that time. Maybe God said, call him right now and let me show you something. So you're listening in the background, you're hearing, maybe you hear a baby in the background, like, oh, what's that? Did you just have a baby? Oh, yeah, I sure did. Or, you know, could be, oh, that's my niece just had a baby back. Oh, your niece is in town. Yeah, my niece just came into town, and yeah, I don't, oh, whatever it is, type. Oh, you mean the niece that hates my guts and said, yeah, that niece, for example, you know, the sibling rivalry type of energy. Like, oh shoot, I guess I'm not coming back over there anytime soon. Oh no, you probably can't come over here, but I was planning that, you know, we could go over here. And we seen a house with the hermit over there. Like, oh what? Yeah, I got another house. Yeah. What? Yeah, my niece is about to have this house and then we're about to move over here. And I was gonna see if you wanted to come over. Oh wow, really? Yeah. I mean, this guy is lyrical, some hypotheticals that how that could, this reading seems to work out. And then, you know, it could be like, yeah, well, the house won't be ready now because in some situations you saw it under development. In some situations you saw maybe it was a house acquired by inheritance. Or, yeah, it won't be ready right now, but uh, when it does, I was thinking about inviting you to come check it out with me. Type, oh, wow. I mean, and even in that situation, you know, you hang up the phone and the Most High, you get back into your parrot closet or something. The Most High says, yeah, so is that something that you can deal with or is it a deal breaker? You know, well, I really don't like that niece hates my guts. And the last time, and I don't think I want to see that person. I don't think I want to go in that direction no more. I don't know. The sky's the limit, but that could be that situation. And we literally seen as far as the emperor with no clothes, it was more like there's another family over there, and you know, your person's got a double life. Is that something that you could live with? They might say, well, I mean, I was thinking I couldn't live with it until they told me they got another house just for us. Maybe it's something maybe I'll go ahead and sign up for. The Most High, are you sure you want to deal with a polygamous, open, polyamorous relationship? You know, well, dot, dot, dot. Anyhow, I feel like that could be part of this reading trajectory. But ultimately, hopefully, I was vague enough and objective enough that if the reading resonates, you'll be able to lay it in its place and see how it works out, and only take what helps and leave the kindly leave the rest. I'll be back to do another as soon as possible. And that's what it looks like there. And let's see. Let me just make sure if there's anything else here before moving on. The 11th house, world stage. As far as the world stage was concerned, it felt like it was where that the information on the social medias and on the televisions, the large groups and organizations involved, and it was mostly in the broadcast information. It's interesting that it, even right now on the world stage, it almost felt like even the ESP, like the metaphysical, supernatural, like communications and the ethers. And that reminded me too, because we saw a lot of the cup energy with the 12th house, Pisces, uh, Hangman, Neptune. So I'm reminded, let's take a look for the 11th house where the planet positions were. Oh, interesting. Yeah, Pisces. Well, I say Pisces. Pluto. Pluto is in Aquarius. Last we checked, it was 3 degrees, so it was in the first decan of Aquarius, Pluto. So, yeah, Pluto seems to have that euphoric energy about it as well. Let's see, Pluto. Pluto. Pluto has that's the reconciliation, that's the judgment, and there's an association with that on the world stage, huh? Reconciliations. Oh, interesting. Judgments also. Oh, let's see what else can be seen about things. Pluto and Aquarius, but we can look it up. I'm gonna take some time to do that. Pluto and Aquarius. And what else is in Aquarius right now? Oh, the North Node. Yeah, there's something to that North Node in Aquarius. So, Pluto in Aquarius. Okay, so Pluto remains firmly in Aquarius as part of its historic 20-year transit, which began in 2024 to 2043. So it'll be like right, it looks like in December, right around the New Year area of 2043, 2044. So this transit, this aspect is going to be there for a while, is what it looks like, right? So let's see. Focusing collective energy on deep internal and external transformations regarding technology, power dynamics, and social structures. A key focus this year is Pluto retrograde in Aquarius, lasting from May 6 to October 15, 2026. All right, so it looks like currently Pluto is retrograde in Aquarius. Let me double check and check the chart and see if we could see that Pluto retrograde in Aquarius. It is. Okay, yeah. All right, so it's currently 3 degrees in Aquarius and it is retrograde currently. I just wanted to make sure that my notes are accurate from 2 different platforms, right? All right, so let's see what else. So external and internal. Okay, so according to the information we gathered earlier today, the retrograde were the wounded warrior, for an example. When it was retrograde, it was internal. When it was going direct, if the influence was external. So I wonder if it's the same. But it almost tends to be the same because I remember learning about reading the Five of Fire at a point, and when the Five of Fire was reversed, RX. So it's almost as if, and I say almost and etc. because these are background notes, and I'm a student, not a teacher or a preacher, sharing my spiritual journey here on the channel. But so I tend to start to remember and realize that retrogrades are indicated in the reversals, and when it's reversed or retrograded, when it's reversed, aka retrograded, its influences internally realized. When it's going direct, the influence is impacted and realized externally. But don't take my word for it. We have to do. You want to do your own research and double check. You and I both. Okay, so what else is it going to say? Focusing collective energy on deep internal and external transformations regarding technology, power dynamics, and social structures. A key focus this year is Pluto retrograde in Aquarius. Oh, we already went through that. So, but hold on. When I read that, I don't want to forget because I keep on being reminded of something when I read that. Yeah, I almost forgot it. Let me get it again. Regarding technology, power dynamics, and yeah, really important. What else about that message is resonating on the 11th house on the world stage? Is that right now there are a lot of relationships, a lot of personal connections that are being played on the world stage on social media. Like, for example, a lot of connections, their person of interest is recording, taking a recorder, and going into their personal relationships, hiding a camera, recording intimate moments. This is something that used to be sacred, used to be private, and now there's more and more relationships that have to be More and more connections have to be careful about somebody taking your private, intimate moment, recording it, and putting it out there for the public. So, yeah, remember when I was reading in that reading here, and there was a, oh no, I don't want to see that. I don't want to watch that. You know, in some case, there's personal, intimate matters of one's relationship and personal. Somebody done took a camera, video recorded, and they put it on the world stage. Got to be more careful of those type of connections, those type of relationships. So let's see what else. The retrograde personal planets, timelines, core themes of Pluto and Aquarius, power and technology, transforming how artificial intelligence, scientific advances, and digital networks influence societal control and freedom. So I feel like that's that part talking about power and technology and how we seen this reading play out on the world stage. Somebody was able to remotely see personal dynamics about their loved one. So that's one of the innovative technological changes, you know, and technically it's being described as an improvement, you know, an enhancement, yeah, technology advancements. And I remember seeing this indication first in the third house, Gemini's house. So, man, that was a while ago when I first started to take the stage, and I was feeling really excited for Gemini. Like, oh wow, Gemini in your house, they're coming out with some new technology, a new way of doing something, some cutting edge, you know, groundbreaking. Wow, I wonder what it is, y'all. Something is about to come out. And I also said, hey, I would start looking if you guys are investors and looking for commodities that, you know, I might start looking in the technology sector because it looks like something is about to come out. Well, I feel like that's one looking at. So, you know, that's interesting, guys. That's the way that looked. I had to really get into the 11th house. You guys saw me get into that Celtic cross and start breaking down the little areas and seeing that, and it was right there. Right there, you guys saw it. Whoa. That is one of those advances. But if you look at it, even in real time, because it resonates with things that we're seeing play out in real time. And people taking people's intimate moments, putting it on the world stage, and capitalizing off of it, making some forms of currency, not just for themselves, but even for the world stage to start to collectively benefit from. So that's a really interesting new societal norm that's getting out there. Where is it gonna go? How is that gonna affect society? How is that going to impact relationships? It's interesting. It's also like something to consider during a dating vetting process. You know, especially for those generations that aren't accustomed, for an example, for the way that personal information is hitting the world stage. Now it makes me remember what, you know, the elders would say, you know, back in the day. They'd be like, well, back in my day, you know, you didn't put everything on social media like that. That stuff would not be getting on to, you know, the elders would get on the stage and they had a disciplined mindset, that disciplined mentality, because the youth, and depending on the generational you know, segment of the youth, you know, generation what, Z and X and what, all of these new generations coming out, depending on it, some of them was like, yeah, we don't put that stuff out there. Oh my goodness, look at what these kids is doing today, putting on their social medias and all like that. And they was watching it with popcorn after a while on their comfortable recliners and saying, yep, that's why you don't look at that. Mm. But I was gonna say, depending on the generations, it was almost like some of them couldn't fathom how you don't. How do you not? You know, because it's part of their generation. It's part of their normalities. They're used to it. When you think about it, these youths, matter of fact, we're starting to see them little tiny babies. They already got a full blown tablet, and they got an iPhone, and they got all types of things they got. And you're like, remember back in the day, you'd be like, you let that little baby have that, and their parents would be like, yeah, my baby can have it. And some of the elders would be like, what? That baby don't need that. And like that baby got an iPhone. I still got a flip phone. That baby is still saying gaga goo goo and you got them a whole iPhone. Yeah, my baby needs an iPhone. So can you imagine if they had an iPhone and a tablet and all like that when they were still saying gaga goo goo and learning how to crawl and walk? They can't fathom. How do you not put that on social media? What do you mean? Let me see what else is being said. And some of the other generations was like, well, I get it because, this is the way, this is new currency type energy. So they're still, part of the old school where I get it. Yeah, I remember we didn't put that stuff on social media either. But nowadays, that's how it goes. Then you even got some gray foxes coming out here in the dating scene, especially these gray foxes that are old. You'd be like, they're older and they're talking to these young little whippersnapper girls, snapper girls. And shoot, for all we know, those young whippersnapper girls is over here going to their sugar daddy. Here, put me on my only fan page. And the older gentleman might be like, "What do you mean? I don't do we do? Yeah, film this. What? Do you want to film this? Yeah." Maybe that's how they got into it. The next thing you know, they're up there filming it and doing all types of stuff on there. And, not to mention anybody, but Shannon Sharp got kind of caught up in that dynamic. He's the sugar daddy, older, some little young whippersnapper was recording all those intimate moments, putting it on her OnlyFans page type energy. And then how he got kind of caught up because it was like, whoa, you was doing that? With everything you have to lose, you trust this person? And I don't know, he's in that generation where he could have been like, well, I didn't know she was recording all of that. I didn't know she was doing that, type energy. But let's see, so that's something. And I feel like, of course, this is like not necessarily anything new. You go, oh, that's been going on for a long time. But the fact that it's hitting this stage in such a time as this, where it's, you know, phew, I feel like something is being launched about it. For example, back in the day when somebody did that, and it might still be in this day, like the Shannon Sharp, for an example, the situation how, that person was able to go to court and they were able to cash out. And, our person of interest needed to defend themselves. And so it went to that part, and even more back in the day, that was called revenge porn, and that was illegal, and you can't do that. And even more back in the day, and still kind of today, there's still copyright laws, and there's still some guidelines about whether or not you can do that type. So it's come to speak of it, there goes to justice right there, the legalities. Here comes the potential shame of, oh no, I don't want to see that. I don't want, oh my goodness, what is that going on? Is that me on the big screen, or is that my person doing all of that on the big screen? Oh my goodness, somebody might say, well, they did that. Somebody's friends and family might come to help them. Well, that's illegal, huh? Yeah, we'll take them to court for doing that. What? Yeah, sitting on the Nine of Pentacles, fortune in disguise, uh, silver lining in the dark clouds, somebody wiping their tears with money, because that is illegal, but it's becoming the new thing. So it's like, it almost feels like the risky behavior type energy. You might get away with it, but I don't know if you'll get away with it. I don't know. I don't know, guys. I just want to try to be vague as possible, so context. Let's see if anything else. So let's see. All right, so the core themes of Pluto and Aquarius: power and technology, transforming how artificial intelligence, scientific advances, and digital networks influence societal controls and freedom. Okay, the other point here is collective versus the individual, moving away from rigid top down institutions toward decentralized community power. That's interesting, right? And so, with that, and looking at that type of energy on the world stage, how does that resonate here? Is oh, well, it looks like I'm in the room by myself. So let me wrap this up as quick as possible. And then there's deep inner work. The retrograde period asks you to stop looking outward and instead examine where you give your personal power away or cling to outgrown patterns. All right, so I feel like that's the part in the storyline where, we were seeing the Most High, for an example, revealing certain things and asking, the person in their prayer closet, is that something that you want to deal with, honey? This person, the Most High reveal this person is exploiting you. When you want to, for example, you want to reconcile with this person, and we kept seeing the house come up, and sudden wealth and sudden wealth. You want to reconcile with this person, babes, but every time you go over their house, they're over there recording you. They got a hidden camera. They're taking pictures of you. They're putting you on their website type energy, and cashing out. Are you sure you want to be dealing with a person like that that's doing you like that? But anyhow, so that's how we could go ahead and close this one out. Thank you so much for your support on the video and on the channel. That's how I read the trajectory so far playing out as of now. And signing off until next time. Peace. I'm going to go ahead and clean up the reading table. And it looks like because the video has been so long, that's the Wheel of Fortune in these cards. Because the video has been so long, I want to move into the 12th house, but I'll go ahead and do another stream and start off and take a break. And get into that 12th house reading. Whoa, Jack. Man. Lord have mercy. Lord have mercy. Lord have mercy. Lord have mercy. Very first time, let us around. Oh, Jesus, Yahshua. Hallelujah. All right, there we have it. So go ahead and sign off for now. So say, hey, I hope you're doing well. Could you help me with a quick question, DC? And then what is this about? Oh, hey, I missed these comments, I think. Hello, how are you doing this evening? Good, thank you so much for stopping by. Somebody said, look up this guy. Okay, who's that guy? Well, it was posted in the chat there. I'll try to avoid saying any names over the mic. See, and then that's one example of how consistency helps a little bit. Because if I don't do it even on the live streams that aren't affected, that's a. I generally try to avoid saying names over the mic just so I can have the discipline for when I get into it. And it came about for when I get into the free readings, for the element of privacy for those who want it. But so that I can maintain the discipline, I just generally try not to mention names over the mic. But sometimes I do, because everybody deserves a shout out. But I don't know who that person is. So yeah, I generally don't say names over the mic, but it's in the chat. So whoever was in the chat looking, they could see that name and maybe they're inclined to look it up. But yeah, hey guys, I'll go ahead and sign off. But I just want to thank you so much for your support on the video and on the channel. Signing off for now until next time. Peace.